Hi, my name is Dale, and I'm the children's pastor at People's Covenant Church in San Juan. And I was wondering, do you believe in angels? Now, they did a poll with people from the United States asking whether they believe in angels or not. And actually, 72% of people said, yes, we believe in angels. Then there was about 16% were like, well, maybe. And only 12% of people who were polled said, nah, we don't believe in angels. So most people believe that there are angels. I myself had one encounter, at least that I know of, with angels over at South Padre Island. And I remember the date. It was June 21st, the year 2000. But that's a story for another day. I want to tell you a story that comes from 2 Kings chapter 6. There was a king of Syria who always wanted to take over Israel. He always wanted to capture slaves. He wanted to capture towns and take all of their riches from them. And so he always had secret plans. And he would tell his generals to go secretly and sneak to different parts of Israel and cause problems. But every time the Syrian army would go to a certain spot, the Israelite army was always there waiting for them. And so the Syrian army had to run away. The problem was there was a prophet of God named Elisha in Israel. And God always told Elisha where the Syrians were going to attack. Elisha would tell the king of Israel, so the king of Israel was always ready. The Syrian king didn't know this, and so after a few times of this happening, he asked all of his generals, who is the traitor? Who is telling the Israelites where we are going to attack? They're saying, well, we're not traitors. We haven't told anyone anything. Finally, one of the generals said, you know what I think is happening? There's a prophet of God named Elisha who's in Israel, and I bet God is telling him where we're going. So the king of Syria said, well, let's get rid of Elisha. That's what we need to do. So they found out Elisha was in a town called Dothan. And so in the middle of the night, part of the Syrian army surrounded this little town of Dothan, and they were going to capture Elisha. In the morning, the assistant of Elisha got up. He was stretching. Goes up on the wall around the town, looks around. Oh no, the whole town is surrounded by the Syrian army. He runs to Elisha. Elisha, what are we going to do? The whole town is surrounded by the Syrian army, and they're saying that they want you, Elisha. They want to capture you because you're causing them problems. And Elisha said, don't worry, because there's a lot more of us than there are of them. The assistant's like, what do you mean? We're in a little teeny town called Dothan, and there's a huge army outside. What are you saying? There's more of us than there are of them. And Elisha prayed to God, and he said, God, open up my assistant's eyes. And as he did, the assistant went to the edge of the wall, looked out, and behind the Syrian army, he saw an incredible multitude of chariots and angels as God's army, all surrounding the Syrians. God had basically his angels and all of his armies were way beyond in number what the Syrians were. And Elijah said, look, there are way more of us than there are of them. God has sent his angels to protect us. The story's kind of funny how it goes then. Elisha then prays and asks God to blind the Syrian army, and all of them are blinded. So Elisha goes out and says, who are you looking for? And they say, we're looking for this prophet named Elisha. So Elisha says, I know where he is. Follow me. And so as they're blind, the Syrian army follows Elisha all the way to a city called Samaria, which was the capital of Israel. They go inside of the capital city, inside of the walls, and then Elisha prays to God, open their eyes, and there the Syrian army's in the middle of the capital of Israel, surrounded by the Israelite army. And the king of Israel said, hey, should we kill them all? And Elisha says, no, They're prisoners of war. You don't do that to prisoners of war. Give them a feast instead. So the king of Israel gave them a big party and sent them off and sent them back to Syria. But the part of the story I really want to concentrate on are the angels. It says in 2 Kings 6:15 and 17, when the servant of the prophet Elisha got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops and horses and chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" the young man cried to Elisha. "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than theirs." And then Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes and let him see." The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw that the hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. That's found in 2 Kings 6:15 and 17. What are you worrying about right now? What are you fearing? A lot of people are full of fear right now. A couple years ago, we were afraid of other things like terrorists. A couple years from now, we're going to be afraid of something else. What are you afraid of? Do you realize that people who are in Christ Jesus actually have access to the angels of heaven, the armies of heaven to surround us? So while this virus may seem out of control and huge and great in number, did you know that the armies of heaven, the angels of heaven, are in greater number than even this virus? Than in any terrorist group? Than anything that we can fear in our life? There are more angels. They're surrounding us. They're in this room right now. The angels of heaven. Psalm 91, 9 through 11 says this: "If you make God your refuge, if you make God the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you, no plague will come near your home, for He will order His angels to protect you wherever you go." God, if you make Him your refuge, if you make Him your shelter in your time of fear, God promises to protect you from evil and even from plague. And God will send His angels to protect us. You know, last night my son, he was afraid. He watches too much Star Wars, and he always worries about Darth Vader at night. And last night I said, "Sawyer, as you go to sleep, imagine that there are angels," because there are. There are angels in your room because you make God your shelter and your refuge. What I'd like for you to do today is, in your time of prayer, or as you go to sleep tonight, I want you to spend at least 1 minute. I want you to spend 1 minute in quietness. I want you to imagine the angels of God surrounding you. I want you to imagine that God is your shelter and your refuge. And allow that to give you incredible peace today.